Do you struggle setting boundaries? Does it feel impossible to say no sometimes? In this video, we're going to get into why that may be and just some simple ways to start establishing personal boundaries. As sensitive, introverted Black women, a lot of us are impacted by not being able to say no. Our well being is compromised, right? So, how can we get into a pattern of behavior with practice over time, with gentleness with ourselves? To ultimately get to a place where we are able to say no. So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Marissa Price. I am a healing practitioner helping sensitive, introverted Black women heal from trauma, reclaim our self-worth, step into our boldest, most brilliant life that we deserve to have, and really reclaim our sacred gifts, right? Challenging the narrative that being sensitive, there's something wrong with it, and really stepping into the fact that no, you are extremely gifted, right? You were chosen to be able to feel so deeply. And how can you tap into that as a source of power versus something to be ashamed of, which a lot of us are dealing with? So let's get into why you can't say no, how to set boundaries for your well being, which is so important. This is day 5 of a 5-day healing series for sensitive, introverted Black women that I have been hosting here on my channel. I want to thank you so much for participating, for joining, for commenting, for sharing. It has been healing for me to be able to read how we are all on this like similar journey of self-reclamation, right? Of self-sovereignty, of refusing to let past wounds, right? Trauma that we may have experienced define where we're going in the future. And so, yes, thank you just for participating in the series this week. So I want to start with saying I'm so proud of you for making it here to day 5. I want you to know that it's not a small thing that you have been able to ingest this information, let it sink in, maybe do some self-reflection exercises like journaling or voice noting. Today, we're going to be talking about something that a lot of us may struggle with, and that is saying no. So why it feels impossible to do sometimes, and how setting boundaries is not just a skill, is a form of self-preservation, of nervous system care, and also ancestral healing, right? We are healing our lineages by being able to say no. And so viewing it in that standing point, right, through that lens can be helpful in healing. It's not just you are healing your lineage by learning to say no and making it a practice over time. So let's get into why it may feel so hard to say no, right? You may care so deeply, and for my sensitive people, you know what I mean. Let me know in the comments if this resonates, that you forget to care for yourself, right? And a lot of people may take advantage of that, our ability to care, our ability to feel very deeply. We are often taught as Black women to say yes to everything because we become, right, easier to exploit often, easier to emotionally drain. There are people out there who feel absolutely no way when we are experiencing burnout, when we don't have anything left to give. There are people out there who will just keep taking, right, and feel absolutely no way about it. So we have to be the ones to set those boundaries for ourselves, which is personal boundaries, which we'll get into in a second, right? So for generations, this is a generational thing. We have been expected to serve, to be available at all times, to hold it all, no matter the cost to our well being. We are often praised for our strength and our resilience, even as things slowly erode our well being. And so saying no was often framed as selfish, right? But really, here's the truth: saying no is sacred. It's your birthright to be able to say just that 2-letter word, no. It's really how we protect what's sacred about our beings and what's essential for our well being, right? So that can be why it feels so hard to say no. You may have said no in the past and had people ridicule you, right? Try to chip away at your self esteem, your self worth when you've established boundaries before. And healing is really a process of revisiting those times with a new lens now that you're aware of what's happening, now that you're aware of what they were trying to do in that moment, and that it had nothing to do with you. It was actually projection. You can go back and heal those parts of yourself, right? Through giving yourself gentleness and taking your time with it is so important. So what poor boundaries may look like in real life, right? So saying yes, even when your body is screaming, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to this place. I don't want to interact with this person. Pushing through, as we're often conditioned to do. Feeling guilty for resting, or taking up space. A lot of us may shrink to stay safe because that's what we had to do in the past to survive. And just even being aware of that, right? The bodily sensations that occur when we feel ourselves shrinking, and instead going the opposite way, right? Now that I know what shrinking feels like, I want to take up more space because my voice deserves to be heard. What I have to say matters, and affirming that to yourself to heal those parts. It can also look like over explaining, overworking, or even over giving to avoid disappointing others. I know this is a huge wound for me that I've had to intentionally work to heal, and that is the fear of disappointing other people. And I had to reframe that in my own mind, right? So, yes, this person may be disappointed, but how am I going to be impacted? Because often when we're thinking so much about how other people are feeling, if they're going to be disappointed, we're completely neglecting ourselves and how this situation, this thing that we're being pressured into, really impacts us, impacts our well-being, impacts our mental health, and let that be the basis for any decision that you make. Check in with yourself first. How is this going to impact? Ignoring your own needs to keep the peace. And again, a lot of these things can be rooted in childhood trauma. And I do have a 5 steps to healing from childhood trauma guidebook, digital guidebook in the description section if you're interested in that. If you are working through the different things in your childhood that may be impacting you, showing up in adulthood, making it difficult for you to establish boundaries, this guidebook can really walk you through the initial steps to begin healing. Feeling resentment, but not knowing how to express it, right? So if you are introverted, if you are sensitive, as I am, self-expression can look different than what we're taught it has to look like. Self-expression for me is usually to myself, writing in my journal, recording a note in my phone to myself, even just sitting in silence and thinking about, do I feel resentment after I made this decision? And if so, what information is that giving me for next time, right? So any way that you're able to express to yourself the truth of how you actually feel, that can give you information on places where you need to establish boundaries to protect your well-being, right? I want you to know also that this may be likely a trauma response. Again, how you learn to stay safe in toxic, harmful environments. But healing really begins when we understand that you were not weak for saying yes, even when your body wanted to say no. You were surviving. You were surviving. And so taking that shame off, letting it release, disintegrate, knowing that you have the power to do that. You don't just have to carry it around. It is, in fact, something that you can take, be aware of, and release it. Not something that you have to carry if you don't want. If you want to put it down, that is your right to do so, and you have the power to do that. So now is the time to honor the version of you that's ready to reclaim your boundaries without shame, a topic that we talked about yesterday on day 4. And the link to the full playlist of this day 5 healing series is in the description section as well. So let's talk about personal boundaries and how to start setting them. So a personal boundary is a limit you set to protect your emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual well-being. It's really how you say, this is okay with me, but that's not. And knowing that you are able to do that, giving yourself the authority, the permission to be able to say that. Even if you couldn't before in whatever environment you were in, today is a different day. Now is a different time. At any point, you can make a different decision, right? To say, this is okay with me, I've determined, but that's not okay with me. And if you're new to this, if this is a new practice, start small, right? It doesn't have to be overnight that all of a sudden you know how to set all these boundaries. Change is really a series of small things, right, that you tweak over time to get you to the larger change that you're seeking of being able to easily set boundaries, for it to be second nature, just like anything in life, right? It's a learning process, it's a practice. But here are some gentle first steps that may be helpful. Checking in with your body. So noticing when you feel tension, dread, or exhaustion. This is really your nervous system trying to speak to you. It's trying to give you information. It's trying to signal an alert, right? And really, healing can begin a lot of the times with tapping into how our bodies are feeling, the information that we're receiving. Because the society often likes to disconnect us. Another topic that we talked about in the series, they want us disconnected from our bodies, how we feel, our emotions, because that is such powerful information that can really guide us, if we allow it to the best places, the best people for us. When we're able to sit with, how does this feel in my body? What emotions are coming up? And comparing and contrasting environment A, environment B, person A, person B. That allows us to have choice, which in a society with systems of oppression that try to strip that from us as Black women often, that makes sense why they don't want us to have that information that our bodies are giving us, right? That built-in mechanisms that are giving us data and information on how to go forward. Boundary work really starts with listening to yourself, to your body, checking in on a regular basis. How am I feeling? Is this making me feel X or Y? Right? Giving yourself two choices, and also keeping a record of that for yourself, right? Through journaling, voice noting, whatever works for you, so that you can revisit that in the moments where confusion starts to pop up, which is natural in the cycle of change. Using simple language, so not needing to over explain, saying, I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me. I actually need to rest today, so I'm not going to be able to do that. And let it just be that simple. No need to explain, no need to have a paragraph. And I'm speaking from experience, right? Feeling like I had to overdo to tell someone what was happening. No, just a sentence is fine. Giving yourself permission. So realizing that you don't need a perfect reason to say no. You can just say no. You can just say no. Needing peace, protecting yourself, your well-being is reason enough. That's it. And also letting it feel awkward, right? It's new. If establishing boundaries feels hard, know that you're not doing it wrong. This is just something new that you're learning. Just like anything, if you're able to reflect over past life experiences, anytime that we take on something new, it feels awkward. That's part of it. That's part of the journey of learning, of practicing. And over time, it starts to become second nature, right? As you are committing to the practice. And remember, boundaries are not punishments. They're not ultimatums, right? Although sometimes they may have to be. And they really are meant to prioritize you, right? They are meant for you to preserve your well-being, your mental health, your physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, which is what we want, which is what we need, right? For you to be okay. And many times for those of us who are recovering people pleasers, the arrow has been pointed out towards external parties for so long, towards other people, towards people in our families, workplaces. We're so hyper focused on how things may impact them that we neglect ourselves. And healing is really, if a visual is helpful for you, that those arrows that have been pointed outward towards other people, point them back into yourself first. Check in with yourself first before you make any decision. Is this going to help me? Is this going to harm me? Do I need to rest? Is this going to drain me? Checking in with yourself. Again, as we talked about, checking in with your body. How is this making you feel? And letting that be the basis of the decisions that you make can be really helpful in beginning to establish boundaries. And so some affirmations to carry forward, right? It's okay to protect your peace. It's okay to honor your energy. Boundaries, personal boundaries, right, for you to protect you can really help your nervous system heal from past trauma and help you to establish a sense of safety. That's why they are so crucial, right? You're not being mean for establishing limits. This is actually self-preservation, which is an essential part of well-being for all of us to preserve ourselves, right? This is our right. You are not selfish for needing space, even though selfish doesn't necessarily have to be a bad word, right? Again, self-preservation is key to any path of wellness, to any path of well-being. You have to be okay. You have to be well. And really emphasizing that and underscoring that in your mind is so important. Know that you're not too much. You're not here to prove your worth through exhaustion. You don't need to earn your rest. You don't need to justify your no. A simple no, one sentence, that's it, right? That's it. It doesn't have to be a huge explanation. Just know I'm not able to do that today. You get to set your boundaries because you matter. Your energy matters. Your energy is precious, right? And you can be the main focus in your life through establishing personal boundaries, even if it's difficult to start. Even if saying no feels impossible, it is a practice. It is something new that you're doing. And over time, as you are committed to the process and leaning into self-love, a topic that we talked about on day 4, it can really do wonders once you see the results, right? As you're able to commit to this, to experiment, to explore different ways to say no, to establish boundaries, you start to get in a groove and it feels like second nature, right? And so if you are interested in working with me to establish boundaries, if you're new to this, if it feels impossible, I'd love to work with you. I'm offering healing support, and I do have a few client openings for this summer. So please click on this link, impressmsw.card with two R's.co, also in the description section as well, for the intro session into a longer healing program. If you are interested, if you feel that what we discuss and how I'm able to assist in the intro session feels aligned, I would love to work with you long term. And so here's a link to book an intro session with me. And I'm also hosting a healing circle this Sunday, June 15th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, called A Safe Place to Feel. A healing circle for sensitive Black women. This is pay what you can, so the cost is not a barrier. These are really uncertain, difficult, chaotic times that we're living in. And so just being in a place where we're able to emote as people with a lot of emotions, right? And viewing that as a beautiful thing and something to really cherish and hold sacred, I think is so important. And you do not have to be on camera. You do not have to talk. You can type in the chat if you want. This is just a safe place for you to come as you are and to be this Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. So the link to register is scrolling on the screen as well as in the description section. So please join us. And if you're watching the replay, please subscribe. Please like this video if it resonated. Let us know in the comments anything that you're doing to begin to establish personal boundaries, and also like the hard times, right? The difficult times in learning something new. I would love to hear from you, because it's not always an easy road to do this, but it is essential to preserve your well-being. We have to have boundaries, even if it feels impossible. We have to be able to say no to things that drain us so that we can keep those parts of ourselves sacred. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for participating in the 5-day healing series for sensitive, introverted Black women. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, y'all, thank you.